Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today I'm doing another reviews and ratings episode where I review and rate all the different games I've been playing in the past 2 weeks with friends, family, and solo. I've got 9 games I'm going to be talking about today, hopefully pretty quickly. It's actually only 8 games this week and 1 expansion. I don't talk about expansions a lot in this channel, but today I'm going to make an exception for this one expansion that I played. We're going to start with my least favorite and go into my favorite for the week. And so just so you know, there are no games that I didn't like this week. All of these games are above average games to me. I had a really good couple weeks of playing games with friends and stuff. I didn't play any games that I'm like, yeah, it just wasn't for myself. I didn't like that at all, and which is always good. So let's just jump into it. Go from my least favorite, go to my favorite from there, and I'll give a short overview of each of these games, give my personal thoughts, and a final rating for the game. And the first game we're going to be talking about, this is just going to be a first impressions because I only got to play this game once. I'd like to play it more, but this is Encyclopedia. In Encyclopedia, it has a theme that I really, really like. You're building the encyclopedia. You are going out and researching and publishing for the encyclopedia. And it is a dice worker placement game. And so you are going different places, getting special abilities for your dice, going and researching the animals, and then publishing your findings in this area. The things about this game, it's going to get a 7 rating. I really like the theme of this. I really like the look of this game. I like the artwork of this game. But there are some things that I don't really like in this game. First of all, it's a dice worker placement game, but you're not really blocking anyone. There is a lot of manipulation with the dice. You can change the colors of the dice if you need to. You can take everybody else's dice. Dice are basically open for everybody, but if you take someone else's dice, they get some rewards for it. The going and researching your animals, so you're going to go get animals, then you have to go to a spot and research them, and then at the end of the game, everybody's going to go and publish them as one of your turns. And the publishing thing is one of the big hits to this game to me, because it is such a fiddly, unintuitive thing. The way that you're putting cubes out onto your animals, researching them, is kind of weird because you're researching some of their statistics, like their climate, their terrain type, stuff like that, putting them all on that, and then you go publish them. And when you're publishing them, you're taking the cubes from over there, placing them on these different spots that are going to score you a ton of points. But you can only take the cubes matching of the different statistics of these different animals, putting them over here. It's a very weird, fiddly system. I enjoy the game itself, but I think this game it's a 7 to me. This one could have been like a 9, I think. And this is only a first impressions, so don't take that with a grain of salt, if you will. But I'm not sure if I'll get to play it again. I would like to try it again. But it's a 7, and it had the potential to be a 9. And there's some fiddliness in it that I wasn't a big fan of. So 7 for Encyclopedia. Going to the next game. The next game is Descent Legends of the Dark. It's not Descent 3, they said. And I've never played the other Descents, so I can't compare this to other ones. This is an app-based dungeon crawl game. All of the people get different characters. All these characters have special abilities. And throughout the game, you're going to be fighting these monsters that are showing up. You're trying to go around, complete certain tasks throughout the game, and fighting the other monsters. The fighting is a very simple, fun, fast attack system. Basically, I think it's really good for that. The games are a bit long. Every game we played of this was between 2 hours and 2.5 hours, I believe. So there's that. And it's going to get a 7 rating too. And you're like, well, didn't you just say a bunch of good things about this? Yes. There's so many things about this that I like. I like the app in it. It runs really smooth. And it is an app-based game, so if that turns you off, it's definitely not going to be for you. But the app is really well done. It's like Mansions of Madness or Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, where the app really takes you through the game. You don't need to know the game that well to play this game, because the app does a lot of it for you. The problem with this game, the reason this comes from an 8 down to a 7 to me, is the story. The story is so generic, it's so bad and bland, and poorly written, in my opinion, that it goes from an 8 to a 7 because it just takes me out of the world. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And when the characters have dialogue between each other, I'm like, this is terrible. This is really bad. It's almost comical how bad the writing is in this. And I've only played this three times now, and every time I'm like, yeah, we can just skip the story because it doesn't mean anything to me. But yeah, 7 rating for Descent Legends of the Dark. Going to the next game. The next game is a roll and write game. This is My City Roll and Build. And this is the roll and write version of a bigger game, the My City, which was a legacy game by Reiner Knizia. This is still by Reiner Knizia. In this game, it is a campaign. If you want it to be, you can play it as one-shots if you would like, or you can play chapters. There are 4 different chapters, and there are 3 episodes in each chapter. So there's 12 total episodes that you can play through, and they're very fast. You can play an episode in about 15 minutes. I played through all 12 games in this in about 3 hours, and I played this as a solo campaign, which you can do. And you're basically going to be rolling dice, and those dice are going to make a polyomino shape, and you're going to write that polyomino shape onto your little map area, and then there's another dice that's going to tell you which terrain type that is. You want the same types of terrain all clustered together. You're going to score points for that. And each episode and each chapter is going to have a little bit of variability for what you're scoring for. So you're going to be placing out these, trying to encircle things in certain episodes, trying to cover things in other episodes, and each episode's just going to change a little bit. The system stays the same, but there's just like a sentence or two that they give you for each episode that's going to change the game. It's very easy to get into. This is going to get a 7.5 rating for myself. I feel like I talk about like polyomino roll and write games where you're drawing out these polyomino shapes on maps. I feel like I talk about one every 2 weeks on here. And like I said, yeah, most of the time it's like, yeah, here's another one. Here's another one. It's just that typical polyomino roll and write game. This is one of the better ones, I think. It still feels pretty generic compared to all the other ones, but the fact that there's different variety for each game, from game to game, it's really easy to get into. It's really fast. I say this is probably one of the better polyomino roll and write games that are out there. And the fact that I bought this for $15, not on sale, and it's a campaign style game, I'm assuming you could probably get this in for $7 to $8 in whenever it goes on sale. That's definitely worth it. It's a good bang for your buck for this game. So 7.5 for My City Roll and Build. Going to the next game. The next game got a lot of fanfare. It just won a ton of awards. I think it might have won Game of the Year at the Dice Tower Awards, I think it did. But it won a bunch of awards, basically. This is Flamecraft. Flamecraft is a very cutesy looking game. Getting resources, spending those resources sort of game. It's a very gateway style game. On your turn, you're going to place your meeple, I think it's a dragon meeple, if I remember right, on one of the different shops. And you're either going to gather resources from that shop, and the resources that you're gathering are all of these different icons that are currently at that shop. And throughout the game, there's going to be more and more icons that are put on there, more and more dragons that have these icons on there. So you're going to gather a ton of stuff on some turns, like 7 to 8 resources sometimes at certain spots. And that's a great feeling. Or else you're going to go to those shops and buy, I can't remember what they're called. They're like little potions, enchantments, I believe they're called. Basically spending those resources to buy an enchantment, and those are going to get you a lot of points. But also those enchantments go on those shops, which are going to add icons, so more people are going to get more resources throughout there. There's also these dragons you're placing, and you're going to be firing off these dragons using their very simple special abilities each time you go to them. And it's just a good, solid gateway style game. This one's going to get a 7.5 rating for myself. I don't think it's anything like amazing. The production quality is really good. The artwork's really cute. It's a good gateway game. But if you're like a heavy Euro gamer, I don't think this one's going to hit you particularly like amazing. I think it's a very solid gateway game is what I think it is. If you want to play some simple games, if you want to show some people who you're a little bit intimidated by games, this is definitely one that you want to show them. So yes, 7.5 for Flamecraft. The next game is for Northwood, a solo trick-taking game. I actually have it right in front of me because I was just playing it a little bit ago, like today. And this is a solo trick-taking game, which now I thought it was weird when people started making two-player trick-taking games, and now like there's a thing where I've played, there's several games that are solo trick-taking games. In this game, you're going to set out these numbers that are like it's 0 through 7, and throughout the game, you're going to have to win. Each round, you're going to have to win tricks for one of those. At the beginning of the round, you're going to choose one. So you're like, this round, I'm going to choose 6. I'm going to win 6 tricks for this game, for this round. And each round, you have 8 cards. And you're going to play out those cards and trying to win however many tricks that you guess you were going to. But in the game, you're going to have to pick one of those piles each turn, and you can only choose them once. So this round I have to win 1 trick. This round I have to win 7 tricks. This round I'm going to have to try to win 0 tricks. And you're going to have to try to do all of them. And if you accomplish that, you get those points for the end of the game. And if you score 20, I believe it's 20, that means you had a perfect game. If you score like 10, you didn't have a very good game of this. But there are also special abilities that you can trigger throughout the game. Right away you have 4 starting special abilities, and each round you can use one of those. You can use those special abilities once, and those are going to help you manipulate the game to the point where you can win those however many tricks you need to win. And there are also special abilities that you're going to be getting throughout the game and replacing those other ones for a one-time use, though. And this one's going to get a 7.5 rating as well. This is a clever solo game. If you like little tiny solo games that have a little puzzle to them, For Northwood is a great game for that. It doesn't get a higher score because I don't feel like it has as much of an addicting nature as some of these other solo puzzle games that I have, like Sprawlopolis. To me, I played this game, I played it once, and I put it away. I played it, then the next day I played it again, put it away. And then a couple days later, I pulled it out again, played it, really like it, but it's not one of those games that I'm just like, boom, 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 gonna play it like 5 times in a row. Because I play it, and I put it away. But it's going to definitely stay in my collection. I think it's a clever system that they're doing. Very fun game. For Northwood, a solo trick-taking game, 7.5. Going on to the next game, we got 4 more. The next game is Point City, which is the sequel to Point Salad. And it's basically, there's no correlation between Point Salad and Point City. Point City is a little bit heavier of a game, but still a pretty light game. I would say the only correlation in Point Salad, one side of the card is a resource card, which was vegetables, and the other side was how you're going to score. In this game, one side is going to be a resource card, and the other side is going to be a building type, which could possibly score you points. In this game, you have a grid, and they all start out as resource cards. And on your turn, you are going to take 2 cards that are adjacent on this grid. And if you take the resources, they just go into your hand. If you take a building, you have to build that building with the resources you have that turn. You can also take resources that are going to help you build that building this turn. And those buildings a lot of them are going to work like Splendor. Some of those buildings are going to give you permanent resources. Like this one's going to give you permanent ecology resource. This one's going to give you permanent commerce ability. And it works a lot like Splendor, like I said. And throughout the game, you're going to get more and more of those permanent resources, and that will help you buy bigger and better building cards that are going to score you points eventually. There's also these tokens that are going to score you points in different variety of ways. You're going to choose one of these tokens that's like, okay, you're going to score 3 points for every this resource, a pair of them. You're going to score 3 points for those. And there's some tokens that are score you points for basically a bunch of different things. And that's why this game is better than Splendor. It uses that Splendor system in a simple Point Salad sort of style. It's easier, but still I think it's better. I think it's a little bit quicker. It's a really fun engine building sort of game. This one's going to get an 8 rating. I was not expecting to like this one as much as I did, but I played it. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. It's a Splendor killer basically for me. And I mean, Splendor was like a 6.57 for me. This one's an 8. So yeah, obviously I like Point City a little bit better. Going to the next game. The next game is Camel Up 2nd Edition. I played Camel Up years and years ago, and I never covered on this channel because I didn't have a channel back then. And then last weekend I was at an Airbnb, and they happened to have Camel Up second edition there. I'm like, okay, I played this before, and I ended up breaking it out, showing my sister and my girlfriend and my son. We played a game of that. Came back this weekend, and my game group, one of the people has it, and they're like, hey, can you show us that? I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty easy game. So we played a couple games of that. Camel Up is a racing betting game where you have these camels racing around this track. Two of these camels are going backwards. And the weird thing about this game is if a camel lands on the spot with another camel, that camel goes on top of that camel. And if that camel on the bottom moves, they're taking that other camel with them. So there's a lot of like crazy things that can happen if these crazy camels are going backwards. If your camel lands on top of one of these crazy camels, that crazy camel could take that camel backwards. And you don't own any of these camels, but you're sort of betting on them. And there are different legs that you're going to be sort of semi-betting each round, like little tiny bets. And you're also going to bet for like final winners of the race. And it's just a fun, raucous time. If you're looking for like a serious game, this is not one of those serious games. If you're looking for a high player count, fun, laugh out loud sort of game, Camel Up is definitely a good one. It's going to get an 8 rating from me. When I first played Camel Up, I probably rated this game like a 6 back then, but that's when I was only playing like heavy Euro games. And Camel Up came, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I like that. And now I play a lot of lighter games, a lot of more funny type games, and this is a funny type game, and you have to get into character for this game, and you're going to really enjoy it if you enjoy those funner, lighter type games. So 8 rating for Camel Up 2nd edition. Going to the next game. The next game is a reprint, retheme of an older game that I really liked. This is Archeos Society, which is the retheme of Ethnos. In this one, they rethemed it to an archaeological theme, and this game you still are playing basically the same hand management type of game, but you're moving up tracks in this one instead of having the area control of Ethnos. So on your turn, you're either going to take a card from the open market that's, people are going to be discarding into the open market. You're going to take one of these, or else you're going to blind draw from the deck. If you play cards, when you play cards, you have to play cards that are all the same color type or all the same person. Now, there are 6 different characters that you're going to play with each game. There's 12 total, but you're only going to choose 6 of them. Each of these characters has special abilities. If you choose that character as your leader for that expedition, when you play out these cards, they're going to have some kind of special ability that you're going to be basically triggering. When you play out these cards, you're going to be moving up on these tracks. At the end of each round, when the 3rd monkey idol happens to be taken from the draw pile, the round ends immediately. You're going to score points for wherever you are on each of these tracks. However far you are, you're on this track and you're on the spot that's got 3 points underneath it. You're going to score 3 points for that. And you're just going to do that 2 or 3 times depending on player count. And it's just a fun time. Now people are going to ask, what do you prefer, Ethnos or Archeos Society? Well, I'm going to rate them the same thing. Ethnos I rate an 8.5. Archeos Society is going to get an 8.5. Now the difference is that people are really going to want to know between the two. I dislike some of the things on there from Archeos Society to Ethnos, but I like some of the other things. The things that I don't like, the differences that they made. I miss the area control aspect of Ethnos rather than the tracks. The tracks are good, but I really like the Ethnos area control because it was such a clean system. But you got tracks now. And the big thing for me in this game is in Ethnos, you had all the character abilities were written on each of the cards. You do not have that anymore. It's a language dependent game, which some people are going to like. But now you get characters and everybody is like, okay, what does this character do? And you don't have a personal cheat sheet with all of the characters on it. They are written on the rule book. So you're just constantly passing the rule book around for everybody's like, oh, what's this character doing? You hand them the rule book and they read that. So that's something that I don't like. That's a functional issue that I think was a worse path that they took. But the things that I do like the tracks. I have to say that. And I don't like the plain tracks. But the thing that really makes this game a little bit better is these tracks, you can flip them over to the non-basic side. Now all of these tracks have special abilities. And that's what brings this game back up to an 8.5 rather than putting a little bit lower for myself is you have all those character abilities, but now you have abilities for all of these tracks, which is neat because you have more variability each game, and you can play the basic side with no powers, or you can play the advanced side with the special abilities, or you can have a mixture, 2 or 3 of these tracks have special abilities and the other ones don't. You can do whatever you want. And the tracks are pretty simple, straightforward, the special abilities. So I'd say just use all of them. If you're a big gamer, you want a little bit more variability. I like the special abilities of the tracks, and I think it opens up this game for having more expansions for it. And I really hope they do come out with some expansions for Archeos Society because I really like it. 8.5 for this game. Going on to the last game of this week, and it is not even the game, it's the expansion that I talked about earlier. This is Circadians First Light Specialist Expansion, which is the expansion for Circadians First Light, of course. Circadians First Light is one of my all-time favorite games. It is my favorite dice worker placement game out there. And pretty much one of the main reasons why it is my favorite is because of the special abilities that you get. The leaders that you are for these games are really big, powerful, game-breaking abilities. And for the expansion, you get 12 more of these leaders. So you have 12 more options of these leaders that are really fun for me. You get more cards. You get more event cards. You get more places to negotiate. Usually there's only 3 aliens that you can negotiate within this game, for this game. And the expansion gets 2 more of those alien races. And the big thing that this expansion is named after is the specialists. And the specialists are basically just a wild die that you can recruit into your area, and it doesn't have any pips on it. It can be whatever number you want it to be. And this is going to get a 9 rating. It takes everything I like from Circadians First Light and just adds more of those good things that I like. It adds more leaders. It adds more special abilities. It adds more cards that you're buying. It just adds a bunch of little things that I really like in this game. And this is going to be an auto include in the Circadians First Light expansion, or First Light game. Every time I play it, I'm going to have this expansion in it. And there's some caveats with that. If you play Circadians First Light all the time, I highly suggest this expansion. It's going to give you everything, more stuff that you like with just a couple more rules. If you don't play Circadians First Light all the time, you play it like once every year or two, you do not need this expansion. I think it's a great expansion, but not one that's necessary for people who don't play it all the time. If you play it all the time, absolutely get it, check it out. I really like it. It just enhances the game that much more for myself. So 9 rating for the expansion for Circadians First Light. And that will conclude this reviews and ratings episode. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to comment down below some of your thoughts on some of the games, if you've played them, if you haven't, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.